Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about the brand new Honor 20 Pro, specifically the low light and nighttime photography capabilities of this device. This is TK and this is XDA TV. And here we have the Honor 20 Pro. Just a quick spec run as far as what we have. We have the 48 megapixel Sony IMX586 sensor. Now this one is set at f1.4, different than what we have on the standard Honor 20 at f1.8. Also, some of the other devices on the market are mostly around f1.7 as well. Secondary sensor we have is a 16 megapixel sensor, and that device obviously is going to be our wide angle lens and an 8 megapixel telephoto lens capable of going up to 3x optical zoom. Now, the last lens you'll notice right there next to the actual dual tone LED flash is a 2 megapixel macro lens. It's a dedicated macro lens that you're able to use to take macro shots. Unfortunately, in nighttime photography, the macro lens is not really that functional, so we're going to focus pretty much on the main camera lenses that we have here. And then, of course, on the front, we have a 32 megapixel sensor at f2.0. Now, jumping real quick into the camera application before we start taking a look at some of those images. Standard shooting mode has the ability of using all the lenses that we have in the back. We have the wide, the standard, as well as all the way up the 5x, although it's 3x optical. And of course, we have the ability of turning on and turning off AI if you were going to take those pictures. Now these images should show up okay, but this is basically just using HDR. We do have a dedicated night mode that's also basically capable of using all of the lenses that we have. So it is able to jump over to the 16 megapixel sensor, the standard 48 megapixel sensor, which by the way, I think the best quality images will come out using the standard focal, the 48 megapixel sensor at f1.4. And of course, when we jump into the telephoto lens, it just changes the different experience. But again, the benefit of using all three lenses in night mode is really, really nice. And the last thing I wanted to share with you guys, if we go into more and we go all the way to pro mode, the ability of actually jumping or bumping the ISO on this thing, and this is going to be crazy, all the way up to, I mean, it's ridiculous at this point, but it's 204,800. That's how high of an ISO level that we're able to go. Depending where you are, and if you want to basically set up your shot and take shots with pro mode, you should be able to use basically some crazy level ISOs. So we're going to start it off with a couple of pictures here from the 4th of July fireworks that I was sitting basically just enjoying with the family. And again, just really nice, simple. You just sit there, shoot, point, and then of course set your focus, lock it, and then just enjoy your images. It does actually perform quite well, although depending on how much smoke you have, you may have a different experience there. So we're going to switch over to low light and nighttime photography. I took the family over to the observatory here over in Los Angeles, and this is basically right at the entrance. I was able to take a nice quick night shot, and you can kind of see that at the bottom of the image you can see some of those shadows, and that's because of night shot requires an extended exposure. And of course, if you have some moving subjects, you'll end up getting that little nice artistic shadow effect going on. Then switching it over to the actual observatory, you can see right there, it looks really nice. I'm using night mode with a good distance from the actual observatory, so you can see the moon, you can see the actual building, and it actually lights it up enough that we can see the telescope on the left. And then of course, jumping into wide angle lens, again using the night mode, you can still see some of those details. It was actually pretty dark. These pictures were taken at approximately about 9:30 at night. And again, it was the actual place was closing in 30 minutes. And then right when you get in there, there's basically that big pendulum clock that they have right on display there. And of course, this one's more of a low light imagery because there's not a lot of light. And of course, what they have there is a lot of ring light going inside. And you can see here with the Honor 20 Pro, we're able to get some of those details on the inside. And of course, jumping over to the wide angle lens to be able to fit in the entire pendulum and again retain some of that detail. Really nice and just looks amazing. Went outside and wanted to take a quick picture of Los Angeles and of course the nightscape. Now we do have a lot of smog, and that's some of that clouds that you see there. Those are not clouds, that's unfortunately bad air. But you can definitely see and appreciate the quality of the image that you're able to take and just getting everything fitting in there. Jumping over to one of the actual domes that we have there, again, a quick night shot, again, just using standard focal length, and it just looks really nice and you're able to still get a lot of that detail in there. And I wanted to end this section real quick with a quick night shot that was taken through a couple of pillars on the side of the dome, and of course kind of looking at it as if the moon is the iris of an eye, and it just looks ever so nice. On the way back home that night, we stopped by Krispy Kreme, and of course I had to take a picture right there as the red sign was on, which meant fresh donuts were being made. And of course it just looks really nice, the neon light, and it's just really, really good. The only thing I had to do to this picture was flip it because I was taking this picture from the inside. Here's a quick sample of just me walking around using the front facing camera, and again just showing the stabilization there. We were checking out the timeline as we were going further into the actual observatory. Some of the benefits of using night mode on the Honor 20 Pro, specifically when you're using the 48 megapixel one and when you get that f1.4, is the ability of getting all this detail. Again, this is handheld night mode. I'm just taking it out. And of course, as you're walking around, you get to see some of these beautiful sceneries, but you get a lot of light on the bottom and a lot of different things, and which unfortunately, when you're looking at this in real life, the dome is not really that visible. And in this picture, you can definitely see all the details, even part of the opening at the top. And then of course, as we were rounding about and going back to the front, you can see here, this is basically just the side of the building with the light emanating from the inside, and you can still get some of that really nice detail there. The cameras that we have here are amazing, and night mode on Honor devices lately, specifically with the latest sensor, just look absolutely fantastic. Jumping over to this telescope, and the really interesting part of this telescope image is that you have an overexposed side and an underexposed side. And this is using just standard HDR. You're still able to basically punch in and get some of that detail on basically the lower part of the telescope. Now on the way out, I did get a chance to capture this quick image of the ceiling, and this is basically a low light image that has a lot of detail. I am using the wide angle lens, the 16 megapixel sensor, but of course when you're actually able to zoom in, you can go all the way down into the details and you can get a lot better focus on some of the details that you get up there. Again, keeping all the details and still fitting in a lot more, information into that image. And this is a quick video doing a pan shot with the phone, just basically on the outside as we were leaving the actual observatory. Everything was closing down, people were walking out, and I figured, why not just take a straight video to show you guys what it kind of looked like when you're using video at night. Finally, circling to basically night mode versus HDR, and what we get here essentially is just an experience of, let's say you just took the phone, took it out of your pocket, and just took a straight image with AI on. This is the main entrance to the Griffith Observatory, just as the standard HDR, and then you can definitely see when we bump it up and take night mode, the image looks so much more, you get so much more detail, and it just looks a little more vibrant. It doesn't look like it was taken during the day, but it definitely looks like it has a lot more light and more detail into it. Flipping it over to the actual dome on the side of the observatory, you can definitely appreciate the fact that when you take it with HDR, you lose a lot of that detail on the dome, on the top, and on the side. It's a great image, but then when you use night mode, you can definitely appreciate having so much more data. And of course, using the wide angle lens always helps. And then lastly, here's another image showing again HDR, comparing it to night mode. Now this one didn't pump up too much detail, it didn't look a lot better, but I do feel like getting the additional details in there. You can see that the lighting on the top of the stairs actually gives us a little bit more detail to basically the rim of the dome, and it just looks really nice. The cameras on this device are definitely not going to disappoint with nighttime photography. The Honor 20 Pro has a very nice versatile set of cameras. We're able to use all three of the main cameras directly in either nighttime photography or low light photography, meaning I can take a wide angle lens nighttime shot or even a telephoto shot. Although in my experience, I feel like the 48 megapixel sensor at 1.4 is definitely going to give you the best images, and you saw those with the examples that I was sharing with you guys. But you do have the versatility of basically being able to fit in more and using all three lenses. And this is the same thing for video. Although in my experience, low light video wasn't exactly the best. I would recommend just, if you're going to do something like that, make sure that your subject is well lit, and you should be able to do well. That pan shot and just walking around in low light, it was doing well, but when it got to really dark, it wasn't exactly the best performer. Photography, I think this is exactly where it's at. The ability of going into the crazy level ISO levels in pro mode, that's also another benefit that you have here that you probably don't have on other devices. The Honor 20 Pro has a lot of options, a lot of cool things going on for it. So if you're considering looking at a device that does really good at night, the Honor 20 Pro is definitely going to be at the right budget for the right set of features. This is TK, and I want to say thank you very much for the support. Like and subscribe to this channel. Make sure you check out my channel. I'll see you guys in the next video.